but I will introduce our presenter today, Jennifer Johnson. We're very excited to have you here to talk about fall migration. I've met Jen at many events that Save the Dunes has also been at. Jen went to Great Lakes Day with us and was a great advocate for the environment and for birds when we were down in DC. And we're really excited to have you today. So we're here to hear Jen talk about left, preparing for fall migration.
Thanks so much, Em. And thank you, Nancy. And thank you, everybody, for joining me this evening as we talk about fall migrations, one of my favorite times of year. So I'll just share my presentation and get it started. There you go. And let's make sure I can see the chat. Okay, perfect. So this is called Left. So this is all about how birds prepare for fall migration and also some things you can do as they're passing through our region. And again, my name's Jennifer Johnson, and I'm part of Audubon Great Lakes, which is a part of the National Audubon Society. And some people might not know what the Audubon Society does, but it's a large science organization that specializes in helping birds and supporting and building bird habitat. Audubon Great Lakes is a regional office, and we cover over 5 states, and that includes 4 centers and sanctuaries, 56 chapters, and over 200,000 active members. And I'm a part of the Wild Indigo Nature Explorations program. That is Audubon Great Lakes engagement wing. And it's a multi-generational program that helps underserved communities connect with their local natural green spaces. Currently, the program serves Chicago, Gary, Indiana, which is my portion of the program, and Detroit and Milwaukee. So just a quick icebreaker. Let us get to know each other a little bit more. Um, I want you to type into the chat, how do you prepare for a road trip? So do you like to pull out your maps? Do you like to look at videos on YouTube, see what some great attractions are for the season? You're packing. Um, I like to get my snacks for the road. Yeah, packing snacks. Snacks, absolutely. I also like to, think about looking for places to bird. I like to see if I can connect with any friends that are on my route. So very similarly, the birds are doing something similar. Yep, looking for good restaurants. Absolutely. Off the beaten path places to see. Absolutely. And so very similarly, the birds are starting a long trip. Many of our birds are moving from their breeding grounds and they're moving south to their feeding grounds. So in those spring months, the birds are having families, building nests, and raising their babies. And then around August, when those fledglings have gotten old enough to fend for themselves, they start to move south for the rest of the season. And hopefully they'll come back the next springtime and start their own families. And this is a cool little animation I like to use that shows how birds are moving from north to south. And as you can see, they're starting way up here in the Arctic and Canada, and they move as far south as South America, Argentina. So left, which is a part of our acronym in the title, stands for some of the signs that birds are looking for to know when it's time for them to leave. And that includes light, and that's empty nest, food, and temperature. So as the fall months are beginning, we're seeing less sunlight. The days are shorter. And that means there's less time for birds to find food and find shelter, and they'll generally take care of themselves. And remember those fledglings we talked about? Well, they're out of the nest. There are no more babies for them to take care of, so mom and dad are off to go on vacation. You might also notice that there are less food sources available as the days are shorter. There are less insects. If the birds are relying on berries and fruit and nectar, those food sources have died for the year. They won't come back to the springtime. So those birds that rely on that type of food, they decide it's time to move southward. And some of our favorite songbirds aren't quite equipped for cooler temperatures or snow. So it's better for them to move southward where it's warmer and there's more food, and they'll have a better chance of survival than if they stayed. Some of our birds that are leaving early, so some early departures include hummingbirds. They're looking for flowers and nectar to drink, so they move southwest into Mexico. And also some of our shorebirds, they've already left for this season. Some of you might have heard of Imani and Sea Rocket at Montrose Harbor in Chicago. They also like to stop over in Northwest Indiana on their journeys. And so they've already reared their young and they're off to their wintering grounds. Other songbirds are on the move, like warblers and grosbeaks and tanagers. And during this season, many birds lose their bright colored plumage that they use to attract mates. And they're also quieter, so they don't need those bright colored feathers anymore. And they don't need to be so loud about defending territories or calling their mates to their nests. And now we're getting into the portion of our presentation about who's on their way here. So a lot of birds are coming from the Arctic, thinking Russia, Siberia, Canada, Greenland. This is the Arctic Circle. So most of our migrants, our fall migrants, are coming from this area of the world. And this is a great time to see what I call we have our funny looking ducks, as very affectionately called them that. They got mergansers. We also have chipping sparrows and snow geese, which are amazing to see on the water. And we also have our larger birds that are moving inland. These birds like eagles and herons, they're what they call short distance migrants. So they're not coming from very far away, but they're coming to their breeding grounds to start their families during the winter. So they're doing the opposite of what most songbirds would do. But also during migration season, we don't want to forget our local residents like cardinals or red-tailed hawks, white-breasted nuthatch. All these birds, they're still going to be around even as our fall migrants are arriving. So we got another icebreaker for you. And I want to know, what are some potential risks that you might have on your road trip? And you can type that in the chat. Accidents, yes. Bad weather, breakdowns, and you run out of gas. Absolutely. Yeah, none of these detours might have some rough traffic. Construction. These are all things you'll encounter. Can't find a space to stay. Yeah. No hotel room. Right. So all of those are some things that actually birds are handling as well as they're on their journey. So our feathered friends have a long journey ahead. One thing that is a risk for birds on their long journey is glass. Unfortunately, over 1 billion birds collide with glass every year. And some of you might have heard about a couple of years ago, there was a mass die off because of birds that hit McCormick Place in Chicago. And that was because the building is mostly glass. And thankfully, McCormick Place decided to put decals or stickers to help birds decipher that this is glass, don't go in that direction. But it's not just skyscrapers or glass buildings that are an issue. This can also include your homes as well. If you've got windows, um, those can be a potential danger for our feather friends. Another issue that birds face on their migration journey is the lights. So we love our holiday lights, we love our lights in our homes, in our cities, but those lights confuse the birds. And so they're more used to things being darker when they're traveling. It's just easier for them to navigate, and bright lights make it confusing for them. And of course, when you're traveling, you use a lot of energy, and it's hard to find food. You can get hungry. And if you're hungry, you're fatigued and tired. And unfortunately for the birds, that makes their trip a lot more dangerous if they need to get away from danger. And as bad and including bad weather, it could be hard on the birds, just like when we're traveling on the road, it can be raining, you can't see. And we're having a lot more increased bad weather due to climate change. We'll see more extreme weather patterns over the years. And so that makes migrating more risky for the birds. They also had to worry about predators, particularly mid-sized predators like foxes or raccoons and cats, and even other birds. And someone mentioned about not finding a hotel room in the chat. That's a problem for the birds too. Due to loss of habitat, a lot of birds don't have a place to rest as they're making their journey south. And this is a quote from Jane Goodall. Rest in peace to her. Uh, what you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of a difference you want to make. So those are some really real risks that the birds have to face as they're on their journey. And fall migration is actually the most dangerous time of year for those birds. But there are some things you can do. What are some things you think would help the birds as they're making their journey? How can you help? Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Oh, you guys are on it. Provide food and shelter. Keep the lights low. Turn them off. Absolutely. Leave out food. Yes. Oh, you guys are on top of it. I love it. So, some things you can do include adding a feeder to your green space. And a feeder is more beneficial in the wintertime as there are less food sources for the birds um, to gravitate to find. So you can get suet packets. They have a lot of good fats and grains, same with plates of high grade seed. And if you've come all the way from the Arctic, a lovely feeder full of seeds is a very welcome sight. And it's also great for those birds that are residents, like our red-bellied woodpecker. They'll enjoy the seeds that you put out during the winter time when there's less food. You can also do things to make your window safer, like adding a decal or an exterior window. You can also, there are certain brands where you can get stickers, there's bird tape, kaleidoscape, or you could just simply be sure to close your windows, your curtains at night during migration so that the excess light is not coming through your house. And also just turn those lights off. That was some of the first things people typed in the chat. Turn off the lights. And some people might be wondering about what about those mid-sized predators? So a thing you can do is to keep your garbage bins closed and properly store and remove food. So if there's nothing to attract them to your yard or your back porch, they'll be less tempted by the birds as well. And if you have cats, keep your cats indoors. It's safer for the cats. And if you're aware of like a feral colony or someone that feeds the feral cats in your neighborhood, um, encourage them to trap and neuter them and then release them back if they're not unable to keep those feral cats. But ultimately, please give the predators their space because they have to eat too. Some of the things that they are facing as far as habitat loss is a issue for those predators as well as the birds. So make sure to give them their space. Other things you can do is if you've got a pile of sticks, you can leave that in your yard this winter. That acts as extra barriers and shelter from predators. You can also add native plants to your garden because what you're doing is recreating that lost habitat and it acts as a stopover site for those migrating birds. So you end up being like a bird Hilton as I like to think of it. And you're also adding an extra food source to those migrating birds. And a good way to figure out what kind of plants you might want for your yard, I want to encourage you guys to use Plants for Birds on the Audubon website. It's super easy to use. You just type in your zip code and it will give you some suggestions of plants you can buy. um, you can figure out if you want like annuals or perennials, what kind of pollinators and birds you want to attract, and it'll even tell you how you can buy those plants. If you like to do crafty things, or if you just want to buy nest boxes, you're giving those birds a place to rest, a place to set up shop for the winter time, and even those resident birds will enjoy nesting boxes. And if you've heard of leave the leaves, this is a good time to leave those leaves on the ground. As long as it's not a hazard, I'd say leave them there. It adds much needed nutrients to the soil and it acts as a cover for insects, and those birds find the insects and they have a extra source of food. I want to also encourage you all to use your mobile devices for community science apps like Merlin. You can identify birds and count the birds that you're finding if you like to go birding. Find a friend to go birding with. Um, Use eBird to make your own birding lists and track them. You can also look at other people's data on your laptop when you use eBird. And I also want to encourage you all to use the Migration Explorer website. That's also through Audubon. You can type in the species of bird that you're interested in, and you can see their migration patterns over the year. So this is a northern flicker, and that's one of our few woodpeckers that are going to be migrating this winter, and they'll be moving southward. There we go. So in June, they're plentiful, and you'll see all those bigger dots get smaller as the year gets on. So we've reached our destination. We're at the end of this presentation. Fall migration is a very important part of most birds' life. They've finished their breeding season and they've decided to replenish themselves and move southward. And then, but even though that's an important part of their lives, it's very dangerous. It's a very hard journey to make. But the things you do for birds will also help other wildlife and yourself. And you don't have to feel hopeless or feel sad for the birds. Especially if you're doing something that's proactive. One other tip I want to encourage you to do is support local conservation groups and organizations like Save the Dunes, like Audubon Great Lakes, like Wetlands Initiative, and Brown Faces Green Spaces. So these are a couple of events that are happening. I want to highlight October 4th. There's paddling and birding that I'll be leading, and also there's Outdoor Palooza. It's a great family event that I encourage you all to go to on October 18th. And this is my email address. Feel free to reach out to me about birds or about conservation or other programs that are happening in the region. And this is also, you can learn about what Audubon Great Lakes is doing on our website, some of our restoration projects, other events throughout the region. And so as thank you, and I just want to open it up for questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, everyone, if you like to drop questions into the chat or come off mute. Nancy's got one in the chat. Why is fall migration more hazardous than spring migration?
It's more hazardous because of less food. So they're not getting as much fuel to help power them through their travels. Also, there's also thinking about those other risks like buildings with glass and lights. We're more indoors in the winter time. We're using more energy in the winter time. So those risks just go up exponentially during the winter time than in the spring and summer.
Another question is, will you list the window decals again?
Yes. So there's bird tape. And there was also, I'm just gonna pull it up for myself. Here we go. And thanks for your patience. Yes, so there's feather friendly, kaleidoscape, bird tape, bird savers. Even if you do holiday cleans, on your window. Those are great ways to deter birds from crashing into your window. The upcoming activities. Yes, I can. I will share my screen once more. There we go. Let's see, I think it's sharing. There we go. So yes, Gary on the Little Calumet River. That's this Saturday starting at 9:30 at Lake Etta. Absolutely, Brian will. So yes, so those unlike like real cobwebs, they like a real one will come loose pretty quickly most of the time. The fake ones, they're made to so you can reuse them every season, but they're not as easy for birds to get out of. So absolutely try to avoid fake cobwebs this Halloween. How did I get interested in birds? I got interested in birds through a family friend. She said, "Do you want to come birding?" I said, "Sure, I've never done it before." This was when around 2011, 2012. I just finished college and I always liked science and outdoors. So this was a great opportunity to learn something new and fun. And it's something that I've been able to stick with since 2012. And originally, I had gone to art school. I'm still an artist. Um, I'm working through my fashion certificate now at the Art Institute of Chicago. And I'm a sewer, I'm a sewist, I'm a seamstress. And so I really enjoy sewing a lot. I like doing tie-dye work as well. I've come to learn. And mostly I had gone to Columbia College for my undergrad for illustration and painting. So coming into conservation from art and science, from art was an interesting trajectory for me, but it informs my own artistic practice as well. And I love the planet, so it wasn't a hard reach for me. Are there any other questions or thoughts?
The Facebook video is a little behind, so we'll wait to see if anyone has questions there. So far, it's still like it's still presenting your presentation on Facebook Live. So
Okay, cool, cool. Are th- are there any birders out there that are there any birds that anyone's excited to see come through this season?
like I said to you earlier, I'm always excited to see the sandhill crane make its migration through. I went down to an Audubon event, I think it was 2023, but at Jasper Pulaski area, and it was incredible. I mean, just the like sheer amount of them coming through and all together, and the sounds that they make. I think the auditory part of birds is pretty cool, and that kind of ties in with using Merlin. And like, you can't see them, you can hear them type of thing.
Yeah, I really love the sandhill cranes too. That's the bird that was at the beginning of the presentation. I'll just scroll up to the front. And I love seeing them land. They just look like big umbrellas to me. So I think about Mary Poppins in that vein. Um, and seeing them all together, and I've seen them at Jasper Pulaski as well, is really magical and fun. So around November, they're probably the last to go. that's a great time to go and see them at Jasper Pulaski.
Did have another question of what are bird organizations dedicated to? Like what are things that Audubon is kind of dedicated to at this point?
Sure. So Audubon is dedicated to bird science. So we have a wonderful science team that does monitoring. They'll go to marshes, oak savannas, different types of habitat to count birds. To sometimes there's bird banding, so they'll set up to catch the bird and put a little tracker on them so that they can see where they go, how they live throughout the year. Um, and also, bird organizations like Audubon are also dedicated to policy. Um, there's been movements for building ordinances, particularly in Chicagoland, to help the buildings be more in code to help the birds. So those are some things that bird organizations do. They also go lobby Congress and local and make relationships with local government officials so that there are laws and policies that help birds and people. And also, my job is making relationships with people, doing outdoor education so people feel more connected to birds and the environment, and hopefully we feel more connected to each other. Um, if you're interested, I would suggest checking out your local Audubon chapters. Those are like clubs. Dunes Audubon is one of the closer ones. Dunes Calumet Audubon, they're great to work with. Um, there's also Chicago Bird Alliance. That's also a chapter under Audubon. So those are what bird organizations are made to do.
Thanks, Jen. We wanted to give a little shout out. Kathy did share the National Wildlife Federation certification for native gardens. Kathy spearheaded the region getting designated, and with our highly fragmented landscape here in Northwest Indiana, every small yard with natives and places for birds to rest along with pollinators is really important. So Kathy did share the link in the chat if anyone has a native garden or is looking to kind of build out their garden and get it designated or noted, you get a cool sign. Save the Dunes planted a pollinator garden on property last year and we got it certified. And I always say, after doing this, my new saying with it is build it and they'll come because there's always pollinators out there. We had two ruby-throated hummingbirds sitting on our garden fence. It was just magical. So thanks for sharing that, Kathy. And if you're a Michigan City resident, please do that. The city is working on getting its designation as well too. So we're counting every number that counts for those habitats created in Michigan City. Did I miss anything, Kathy?
Can I unmute? I don't know if I can type that fast.
Go ahead.
I'm so excited. East Chicago is now also certifying. So is Valparaiso. There are a few other cities that are coming on board. Wild Ones Gibson Woods chapter is certifying Lake County. And then Plant, the Porter LaPorte Advancing Natives team, kind of the local SISMA, they are working on certifying Porter and LaPorte County. So I love like the fractals that are developing out of the regional initiative, and we've got sister groups to the east of us. There's a group in Michiana and a group Northeast Indiana. And I met the president of the Indiana Garden Clubs last month in Crown Point, and her whole initiative is plant natives. And so if you just go and explore like why natives, it's not even the seeds themselves, but like they're the host for sometimes caterpillars, and then the caterpillars are the bird food. I don't know about in the fall migration, that might be a little late for caterpillars as food, but they really do supply food, more than just the obvious seeds. So just check it out. I'm really excited that all this stuff is coming together. Thank you.
And Save the Dunes will have exciting bird garden crossover news in the next about year. We are working on our third volume of Living in the Dunes guide. So first volume was invasive species, second volume was native plants, and third volume will be gardening for birds. So I'll have all those details, even less about plants and more about shrubs and what native trees and why, catering to what they like I said, it'll just bring them right to your yard.
Mhm. And they'll stick around too. I'm pretty sure I have the same white-breasted nuthatch outside my house that I love to see.
I never saw a northern flicker in my yard until I got rid of some turf grass and planted native plants. I can't say it's cause and effect, but it sure seems like it. I mean, it happened within like a month after I got rid of my front yard and put in plants instead. That was
Hmm.
pretty cool.
And even the plants that you might not think look so aesthetically pleasing as well, I would say leave them there. I had some obedient plant that flopped over. I'm like, it's not looking that pretty. And I was ready to just kind of cut it down until I noticed the hummingbird was really enjoying those flowers. So I left it and I said, I'll just wait.
Hey, Nancy says, so robins are not the first sign of spring. Believe some stay year round.
Yeah, that's true. That's what my mom used to say to me. She'd say, Jen, when it's the robins come out, it's your birthday. Because I'd always ask, when's my birthday? When's my birthday? But they are also considered short distance migrants, so they migrate a little bit. They just don't go very far.
Very cool. Thank you, Jen. If there's any other questions, I'm
If
not.
anybody has anything they want to drop in, in the comments as far as events that your, green organization may have coming up, feel free to drop those in. I did drop all of the information regarding the League of Women Voters Lake Michigan Region Conference that's coming up. So that's all there. There's a one registration site for the in-person meeting, and there's the other registration site for the online opportunity to join that. And then I also posted all of the details. And like I said, this is totally open to anybody and everybody that's from around the whole Great Lake region. Actually, we'll have people there from Minnesota and Wisconsin, and I think one year we actually had somebody from Canada that came down for it. So it's a great networking opportunity also. And like I said, it looks like they're going to be focusing on data centers this time around, data centers and other challenges. And I know this has been a question and a concern, and also a point of advocacy for the whole Midwest, basically, all of us that are around these Great Lakes that have lots of water. So usually, and we usually let you
Yes.
tell us what's happening at Save the
Yes,
Dunes.
Save the Dunes has lots going on.
So you know what? You have time to do it today, and
I do.
you don't have to rush through it as usual. I saw so many exciting and wonderful events coming up, and I'm going to try to make your quarterly um, historic.
Well, it won't be that much. It's not focused on history this
Oh,
time.
what is it focused on this time?
We are going to be doing fall gardening and seasonal wellness transition. So, talking about leaving the leaves, best practices for fall gardening. If you're getting a garden going, this right now could be an option for that too. And then talking about how to transition into the next seasons with wellness and health in mind. So, getting people out it's not, perfect time weather to get out, enjoy the colors and the changing seasons. So that's going to be our Barker Seasonal Forum. That will be at the end of this month on Wednesday, October 29th. But before that, we've got some other exciting events all listed on our website for more details. But I have the event page pulled up just for this very reason. So, well, we will be popping up at the Isaac Walton Nature Nights this month on Monday, October 13th. That's their fall fest. So we have some more fall environmental information, some information about Indiana bats, which is pretty fun. Uh, another pollinator. Then we'll be co-hosting a poetry workshop on Indigenous Peoples Day. That's in collaboration with Shirley Hines Land Trust and the Poet Laureate of LaPorte County, Valerie Wallace. This is a continuation of a program that had started earlier this year and was at Barker House, but now this will be at Meadowbrook on the 13th. Then I will be hosting my very first biking event. So if anyone would like to get out and bike with us, we are taking to the trails. I've been learning a lot about the Marquette Greenway, so I'm hoping to share what I've learned about the connectivity and access to our parks and green spaces using our trails and trains and bus systems. So we're gonna bike Miller Beach on Saturday, October 25th. We'll start at the Miller Beach South Shoreline. We're partnering with the Gary Public Transit Corporation, who will be providing some Cycle 219 bikes for folks to use if you don't have your own bike. And registration for that is open. Bikes are limited, so please RSVP early if you need a bike and would like to attend and use one of the 219 bikes. That's on Saturday, October 25th. And we'll go right up Lake Street, see the Douglas Center, and then go right to the lake up there on Wells Street Beach in Marquette. So those are, and then the Barker Seasonal Forum at the end of the month. And then we do have our presenter for November Green Drinks. It's Dr. John Law of the Potawatomi. He's going to do a presentation specifically on Potawatomi in the Northwest Indiana region and the history of the indigenous tribes and how they used the land and navigated the resources that make this place so special and magical. So we're really excited to have him. And then we will take our customary December break for green drinks. So next month will kind of be the last green drinks of 2025, which can't believe we'll be wrapping up our 13th season here.
Okay, I'm also going to make an additional plug for Save the Dunes being the president. We invite you to join and become a member. And if you're a person that's not into memberships, then you can always make a donation of any size to the organization. If you are a member, we will hold our annual meeting and holiday gala. That will be the first Wednesday of December, 6:30 p.m. at Barker House. And I must say the staff really goes way out and makes it such a festive atmosphere with decorations and little niblet eats and home-baked cookies and libations. So come and join us for that. It's really a wonderful event. And then our first speaker in 2026, we always invite back the executive director of Save the Dunes, and that's Betsy Mayer. And she will be presenting on this huge shift that's happened for our organization because we are now an official designated partner of the Indiana Dunes National Park. So I know she's going to have a lot of exciting information to share about that. And during this trying time for all national park, historic site, and battleground employees, really what we can do is step up and support them as much as possible. So the first step in that is learning about what they're engaged in and how we're able to fill in some of the gaps that have surfaced. So please join us. Again, that will be the first Wednesday of January. I didn't see what that date was. Did you?
December. Oh wait, January's
January, yeah.
that
We take December off.
it's looking the first
The
Thursday of
7th.
January. Oh, the first is what it's looking
We're gonna have to probably move it back a week. So
the
we'll need to look at that, okay? Okay, yeah, we're not gonna meet on the holiday. This is the first time I can remember that ever happening. This is a first. Okay, so stay tuned. We will get that posted. Surprise.
Good, good. Yeah, and so yeah, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It was great to have everyone. And as always, all Green Drinks recordings live on Save the Dunes' YouTube page. So if you've missed any previous ones that happened this year, there was a ton of great presenters ranging on topics across the environmental sectors. So check those out. And Jen's presentation will be up soon, and you can share it with your networks and any other bird fanatics or folks looking to learn more about how we can